Recording 6A.
I'm a French teacher, but I remember when I first started to learn the language, I really struggled with it. I didn't really have a problem with the pronunciation like the other kids in my class. I was just overwhelmed by all of the vocabulary. But I persevered, and soon I was scoring 10 out of 10 in all of the tests. By the time I got to university, I could produce essays and translate 18th century texts without much difficulty, and I actually enjoyed learning the grammar rules. Then, as part of my university course, I had to go and live in France for a year. That's when I learned that communication was more important than accuracy. As soon as I arrived, I realised I didn't know how to order the type of coffee I liked, and trying to find accommodation was a nightmare. I called people about ads in the paper, but I had to keep putting the phone down because I couldn't understand a word they were saying. They all spoke so quickly. There was a very real language barrier. I could see then that there's no point in just knowing words if you can't hold a conversation with a native speaker. Fluency is what helps you to function properly. It's what helps you get a job, hold a conversation, or just buy the things you need.
Recording 6B.
What do you think you need to do to be a good language learner?
Well, you need to be able to put down your textbooks from time to time and forget about accuracy. That's the only way to become more fluent in a language. You also need to speak to native speakers of the language as much as you can.
What do you think makes a good language teacher?
I think the best language teachers are those who can speak another language themselves. Teachers also need to be able to explain things clearly and in a way that is easy to follow.
What problems do people experience when learning your language?
My first language is very difficult to learn because of the pronunciation. The individual sounds are very strange to other nationalities and often difficult for them to pronounce.
Recording 7A. Speaker 1.
I live in a quaint little village about 300 kilometres from the nearest big city. Although it's a long way, the drive from the city is well worth the effort because the surrounding countryside is very scenic. I like living here because it's so peaceful and the air is really fresh, so it's much nicer than in the city. It's a pretty sleepy village, but on Sundays there's a huge market and people come from all the neighbouring villages to buy and sell their local produce.
Speaker 2.
The most popular part of my hometown is the beach. We have long stretches of white sand and the water is crystal clear. The sea can be very calm at times, but the surf can also be spectacular. Visitors who enjoy water sports are really well catered for, as you can go snorkeling, scuba diving and deep-sea fishing. Soon we're going to get our own airport, but for now people can only get here by ferry.
Speaker 3.
My city is famous for its skyscrapers, statues and fountains, but most of all for its shopping. You can buy anything you want here, and we have over 50 large shopping malls. We get a lot of overseas visitors, so our airport is one of the busiest in the world. It's a very exciting and cosmopolitan place to live. Most people don't drive because there are always traffic jams, but the public transport is really well organised. We have some great attractions nearby for visitors, as well as a huge sports stadium and fantastic theme parks. I suppose the only downside is that the air can get a little polluted at times.
Speaker 4.
My village is 200 meters above sea level, and we overlook the villages and lakes down in the valley below. It's very picturesque up here, so we get a lot of visitors, especially artists who want to paint the landscape. They also like our traditional houses. The air is very crisp up here as well, so a lot of people come up here to escape the heat in the city. The roads are pretty treacherous because they're very steep and winding, so most people arrive by train. The scenery on the way up here really is breathtaking.
Recording 7B.
Boundary. Bought. Cough. Country. Course. Double. Doubt. Drought. Enough. Journal. Journey. Naught. Rough. South. Southern. Tourism. Tourist. Trouble. Trough.
Recording 8A. Speaker 1.
I must say I'm never on time. In fact, I was late for meetings 3 days in a row last week. Everyone's always angry with me because I do tend to keep people waiting a lot. Work is my problem. I get so engrossed that I lose all track of time. I try to get everything else ready before I start, which saves a bit of time, but before I know it, a few hours have passed and I'm already late.
Speaker 2.
I can't say I'm very punctual. I do my best not to be late because I hate being kept waiting myself, but I do sometimes spend too much time getting ready. If I'm going out somewhere, I like to plait my hair, which is very thick, so this can be very time-consuming, and I often have to rush through everything else I need to do. I once went to a wedding, and I took so long doing my hair that I only just arrived in time to hear the bride say, "I do."
Speaker 3.
I could tell the time at a very early age, and I've been obsessed with punctuality ever since. I own about 12 watches and clocks, but none of them show the right time. I can't stand to be late for work or in a hurry, so I make sure they're all 10 minutes fast. And I always carry a spare watch in case one of them stops. That way, I always arrive at meetings in plenty of time, and I can take my time getting my paperwork ready.
Recording 8B.
Welcome once again to Introduction to Dentistry, and in today's lecture we'll be looking at the history of dentistry through the ages. Now, skulls of the Cro-Magnon people who inhabited the Earth 25,000 years ago show evidence of tooth decay, and the earliest recorded mention of oral disease was in 5000 BC. This proves that oral disease is by no means a modern-day problem and has in fact plagued humans since time began. That particular reference appeared in a text written by the ancient people of Sumeria, which referred to tooth worms. There is also evidence that dental problems caused difficulties in other early civilizations, and people from those times actually developed treatments for them. For example, we have found historical evidence that the Chinese used acupuncture to treat the pain associated with tooth decay. There is even further evidence of the troubles caused by toothache in the Ebers Papyrus, which is a text written between 1700 and 1500 BC by the people of ancient Egypt. This papyrus contains references to diseases of the teeth, as well as prescriptions for medications they used at that time. While today we automatically prescribe antibiotics, the ancient Egyptians relied on more traditional remedies to help with tooth decay. Firstly, olive oil, which even today is known to have therapeutic qualities, and secondly, onions, which again are an age-old traditional medicine and are still recognized as a reliable source of natural antibiotics. A large proportion of early dentistry was practiced as a part of general medicine. However, by the 5th century BC, Herodotus, a Greek historian, made the following observation. In Egypt, medicine is practiced on a plan of separation. Each physician treats a single disorder and no more. Some undertake to cure diseases of the eye, others the head, and others again of the teeth. The Greeks were at the forefront of dentistry of that time, and it was a Greek physician who lived between 1300 and 1200 BC who chose to extract problem teeth long before anyone else. Arabs were also pioneers in the area of oral hygiene and used a small polishing stick as a toothbrush as early as 100 BC. So, what of Europe? Well, throughout the Middle Ages, dentistry was made available to the wealthier classes thanks to physicians who would visit individuals in their home, while dentistry for the poorer people took place in the marketplace. Italian sources from the 1400s mentioned the use of gold leaf as dental filling material, but it was a Frenchman, Pierre Fauchard, who is credited with being the father of modern dentistry to his book The Surgeon Dentist, a treatise on teeth, which describes basic oral anatomy, signs and symptoms of tooth decay.